Hi, it's Chris from Epix again. This is a short video just to explain how to run reports and how to get the best from filtering your report results without the need to, say, restart the report from scratch. This is one of those things that gets covered on initial training when you go live. However, with all the things going on and everything, it's the thing that seems to get lost. And what we do find is a lot of users come in and out of reports to rerun them. So you'll run our reports and then want to, say, change something that you've searched for. So you'll close it down and start again. So what I'm going to try and show you on this video is how to run your reports but edit the filters from within it so you can quickly change the results. Now, when we say reports, a lot of people will dive straight into the reports menu and pick one of the ones that you've either pinned here, or you'll go into the all reports and then find something that you would like to run. However, not all reports are found there. The simplest report that can often find you the most of your results that you might ever need can be something as simple as find job, because the find job is still a report. You're still filtering data within the system to get some results. So for today's example, I'm going to use the find a job report to find all jobs that have been received into my test system here for this year. So you could of course change the date filters here, and double clicking or pressing the enter key will put in today's date. So I'm going to run a year to date report just simply on the date range of received date, and then I'm going to press search. As we can see, our results have loaded, and in my test system here we've got 286 jobs. So as we can see, we have got 286 results where we have filtered by the received date range of year to date. Now, all these blue bold text items here that are separated by the columns going across the screen, these are all available filters, and those filters are the same as if you'd done find job, and they're all here. So if you'd have wanted to, say, search for anything in the postcode where it's in, say, the SK6 area and it was received year to date, you could obviously fill in those fields here. But because we've got our results already on this screen, if we decided we wanted to narrow these results down, we can bring in filters here without the need to go out and back in again. So we'll do that by selecting one of the filters. So let's say, for example, we'd like to see all things for a trade type of electrician. So we'd like to see all jobs that were logged into the system or received into the system year to date that are trade type of electrician. So we clicked on the trade here, we applied the filter there, and then we pressed update filters to rerun this report. And as you can see, the screen's just refreshed and our results from 286 have now dropped to 29. So just to repeat that, if we said, oh, let's do that again, but let's do it for plumbers, we select the trade filter, we select the trade that we want, and then we press update filters again. And now we can see the results have now changed to 33 results, and that's because we're now looking at the trade type of plumber for all those results there. Now we might decide that we want to remove the filters for, say, the trade. Well, we can do that by clicking on the ones here which are filtered by, so currently filtering on these things here with green ticks. If we click on that one, you'll notice that the green tick has now turned into a red cross. So if we now press update filters again, that will now remove the filter for trade, leaving us only with the received date range, which takes us back to our original 286 results. So we could do that again, and we could say let's do completed date range rather than the received date. So we'll take off the received date, find the date for completed, and let's see all results for year to date where the jobs were completed in that date range rather than just received. So we simply press update, and as we can see now, the received date range has disappeared, but we have now got the completed date range, and the number of results, of course, are smaller. And of course you could revert that back again and bring in even further fields. So you could say, show me received date range of year to date, and show me a customer of, let's say for example, the old Liverpond client. So we're going to take off completed, and we're going to bring in the customer and the received date range, and we're going to press update. So our 9 results have now jumped up to 58. So as we can see under the customer column, we're now filtering on that specific customer that we looked for, and the received date range over here, that's filtered for year to date. And of course we could bring in an additional filter, so we could say where the postcode contains. So if you were interested in all things that happened in, say, the SK2 area, you could do that and press update filters. So this report is now showing us the customer of old Liverpond, where the postcode begins with or contains SK2, and they were received this year. So if you were interested then for all jobs in the SK2 area regardless of receive date, we click on here to turn it into a cross, we press update filters, and that is now running that report just for that customer with that postcode. Now of course this works on all our reports, so I'm just going to very quickly go in to find a sales invoice and show you the same sort of thing here. So if we do all sales invoices that have been generated or with a tax point date of this year, and then press search. Again, we can use any of these filters here to drill down into our data further, so we could do the customer, for example. But something else worth mentioning is the sorting of data. So on all our reports where you have a header and where the table looks like this, you can click on the header to sort the data. So if we want to sort by tax point date, if we click here, you'll notice a little green arrow appears, and that's pointing downwards, which means at the moment that's sorting in ascending order, so we're starting with the earliest date range first. If we click it again, the arrow will switch direction to point upwards and will give us the latest date first. And this works on all sorts of things, so you can do it on due date, you could do it on customer to sort alphabetically should you wish, and you could do it on date fields, and you can do it on numeric value. So you could say, for example, shows the highest value at the top of the list, and there you see that there. So you can sort on any of your columns, it will only do one at once, but you can sort your data here as well for a quick answer. So if you were looking for the highest value invoice that you generated this year, this report sorted that way would do that for you. So if I now run a different report and I go with, say, the completed jobs report, this is the one for breakdown of jobs completed inside and outside of response. Again, if I just go with a received date range of the year to date in our test system, and I say breakdown by customer, what that'll do when I press search is that will show me a list of customers, and then it will summarise the jobs, or the numbers of jobs that were received within this date range here. So that's quite a nice report. We can see some nice interesting statistics by customer there. Of course, anywhere we see the blue hyperlinks that produce a little hand across it when you hover over, you can then click on them. So say we wanted to see the completed jobs for new Slafford housing, then there are 7, and we could click on those 7, and that would then give us a list of those jobs that you could then, if you wished, you could click down further and look at the actual job sheet. However, back on our report, you'll notice on the right hand side here, above all of your reports, you'll have 4 options. So you've got this pin symbol. Now in this case it does say unpin, and there's a reason for that which I'll explain in a moment. You've got personalise, print and export. So what I'd just like to do is explain what each of those does and how those could help you. So first of all, the pin button. As I said, this one here is set to unpin. Now the reason that's there is it allows you to pin this report to your reports menu. So this particular one was accessed by clicking on that link there, and so this report has already been pinned. So if I was to press there again, that has now unpinned it from our reports menu. So if I was to then press the home button at the top here, and then go back to the reports menu, we'll see that the KPI completed jobs report, which was around about this area here, has now been unpinned. Now to get that back, we simply run the report again and click the pin button. So I've just rerun that report now, and as we can see we've now got the option to pin. So if I now press pin, again, and then press the home button, what we'll now see under our reports menu is the breakdown of jobs completed inside and outside of response. Now, the reason that's got a different name on the reports menu now is because at some point or other that had been recaptioned. So this is the actual name of the report, and that's a KPI report. So if you did want any of these renaming on your menus, of course, if they mean different things to you in your organisation, we can do that, and we can amend those to be whatever you want them to be to help you with your reporting. But let's just rerun that report again to get us back to where we were. So again, we have the 1st of January to year to date, obviously, and then we have our breakdown by customer option there, and then press search. So now we're back to the report, and as you'll see again, we're at unpin because the report has now been pinned. The personalise button is something that we would not always recommend that you play around with and edit, purely on the basis that if you do this, you can end up removing certain fields from your report that you might find useful, that you maybe unintentionally removed one time, and then when you've come back to the report you're missing some very important data. But what the personalise button does, you've got two columns here. What you can do is you can untick options to say whether or not you want to show that information. So on this one here, if you didn't want to see the number of visits, for example, that had happened on that report, you could untick it and you could press Save Preferences. And now we can see on our report that the number of visits column has disappeared. If we click on Personalise again, and we bring that back in by ticking here to show, and then press Save, then the number of visits column has been re-added. If we click again back onto the Personalise button, the table to the right hand side here is for your report filters. And what this column here allows you to do, it allows you to define a default filter. So let's say, for example, you were a supervisor and you deal specifically with a specific client. So let's say, for example, the new Slafford Housing client. You could define that as a default filter, and then you could press Save Preferences. And if we now run this report again, so if I close it and come out, I click on the report name here, it will automatically load the report without giving you the filter screen at the filters that you've defined. So for me, in my user account, I have set that I want to see new Slafford Housing as the customer. So I will only get that until I remove it, either here or I personalise it out again. Of course, you can add in filters like we explained earlier in the video. However, this can be particularly useful if you are responsible for a certain area of the business, or you only want that report to show you a very specific thing. But do be wary of doing this, because sometimes what you can do, if you did this say on the Find Job report, you'll never get the search screen to come up, and you'll always get a specific filter that you've set. So if in any doubt, do ask us for some support on this, just to give you an idea of what it could do. But if you do find yourself running a report where you never get the search screen, you only get the results straight away, it's because you've personalised a filter of some sort. And to get rid of it, you reverse the process. We click on Personalise, we remove the value that you have set, and then you press Save Preferences again to remove that filter. And if we again rerun our report by clicking here, selecting the report, we now get the search screen where we can then rerun it for as many filters as we want on this screen. The print button does exactly that. So the screen that you're looking at now, if I press print, we get a PDF file generated with that result in it. Now, do be wary of this one. Sometimes if your report's particularly lengthy widthways across the screen, then this will simply generate it over multiple pages. So it doesn't always give you the nicest print view for what you're looking at, because obviously we're trying to then export all columns into a printout. So the best way of running a report, really, if you're going to print it, would be to export the results out of the system and then manipulate the columns, maybe provides a bit of colour highlighting if that's something you need, and you can edit it as well. So to cover that then, the export button does exactly that. If we press it, we'll see here down at the bottom of our screen that we have exported a CSV file, and that is a CSV file containing this data. So if we then click on this, that will now open that file using your default spreadsheet application. So in my case it's Microsoft Excel, and so we have just simply loaded the information that was on the previous screen on the report. So as I said, you would normally, if you're sending this information out to your client, you'd probably expand the columns, you might stick a bit of bold in, underline, you'd edit the document, and you would then save it, or you can of course export it as a PDF file should you wish. So that explains the options on your reports. So just to briefly recap, all reports are very, very similar. You have filters here which you can manipulate by clicking on them and adding in values and then updating your filters. You can remove filters by clicking here or adding them back in. You can sort your data using clicking on the headers, and of course we can export our results or personalize what we're viewing here. If you do have any questions on any specific reports, so what is a report to find of a specific piece of information, then do ask. We do have a very large bank of reports here in the All Reports menu. So if you have got a specific requirement, there's a good chance that we've got a report to help you.